next important topic that we are going to take is presidential election in India, because the term of the existing president, Honorable Ramnath Kovind, is going to expire next month, and to fill his vacancy, a new president is going to be elected. And now we are going to look at the relevant articles, because this is a part of polity that often comes into exam. That is why I have taken it. Why not take this opportunity of presidential election to discuss it, right? So term of office of president, unlike the term of office of prime minister, there is no clause in the Constitution of India that says that the term of office of prime minister will be 5 years. However, we all know that the usual term of a Lok Sabha is 5 years, and hence the usual term of prime minister is also 5 years. But none of the articles talk about the term of prime minister to be 5 years. What the Constitution says in respect of prime minister is that the term of prime minister will be such that he enjoys the majority in the house of the parliament, in the Lok Sabha. Basically, he enjoys the trust of the house in Lok Sabha. If he loses the majority vote in Lok Sabha, his term might end prior to the dissolution of the usual dissolution of Lok Sabha, that is 5 years. Okay, a Lok Sabha is constituted for 5 years. One prime minister is not elected for 5 years. He can be thrown out of the parliament, out of the prime minister's position prior to that, by defeating him in the Lok Sabha, by defeating the government under a no confidence motion. Okay, but the term of office of president is fixed. It is for 5 years. Another important point is president is not a directly elected person. He is not a directly elected person. He is neither a nominated person. He is an indirectly elected person by elected representatives. Now, this is very important. But when I say he is an indirectly elected person of elected members of elected people. Like now, term of office of president shall be 5 years from the date upon which he enters his office, not from the date upon which he is elected as a president. Why? अब देखो, ये कंफ्यूजन बहुत होता है, एग्जाम में भी बहुत होता है कि अगर ये क्वेश्चन आ गया कि द टर्म ऑफ ऑफिस ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट शैल बी 5 years from the date he gets elected to the office of the president. So people will mark it correct, but that is not true, because अब ये ट्रू क्यों नहीं है, इसके पीछे लॉजिक ये है कि प्रेसिडेंट का इलेक्शन जो इनकम्बेंट प्रेसिडेंट है उसके आउट होने से पहले ही कर लिया जाता है. ओके, प्रेसिडेंट गेट्स इलेक्टेड प्रायर टू द रिमूवल और प्रायर टू द end of the term of the incumbent president. Like Ramnath Kovind is the incumbent president, right? The new president will get elected prior to the date Ramnath Kovind is going to retire. Okay, that means, and if you start calculating his term from the date he gets elected, okay, then the next time another person will be elected prior to that, and that will not be the right thing to do. Instead, what we can do is we can elect him any day prior to the retirement of the original president, and then when he enters the office on the day when the president retires, he will enter the office on that very day, and from that day 5 years is calculated, right? He can resign prior to the end of his term, and he can submit his resignation to vice president. Okay, he can be removed from office of the violation of constitution. Now, while he can remove for only one reason, if in case he has violated the constitution itself, there is no other ground for the removal of president. Okay, and we know president can be impeached. That is called impeachment of president. he should hold his office till the successor enters the office. That means now the president will get elected, but he will be having some time. For example, if the president gets elected and the incumbent president like Ramnath Kovind has to retire on 17th of July, but in case the president elect, person who has been elected to become the next president falls sick, he is not able to enter the office on 17th of July, and he takes 1 month leave. He said that okay, I will be joining on 17th of August. So till that person joins the office of president, the person who is to retire on 17th of July has to continue till the new president joins. Okay, that means there cannot be an interregnum, there cannot be a vacancy in the office of president. Okay, eligibility for the election as president. Now there are two things. First one is eligibility for the election of president, and the second is the terms of the office of president. They are very different things. People often confuse them. I'll show how. Okay. Terms for the election, eligibility for election as president means what are the eligibility conditions that have been laid down for a normal person to get elected. Okay. अब उसके बाद आता है conditions for the office of president. That means what are the conditions that have been set upon a person who has been elected as a president. Okay, eligibility applies to the person who has not been yet elected as a president. Conditions of office applies to the person who has been elected to the office of president. He should be a citizen of India, shall be at least 35 years of age, shall also be eligible for the election of the House of the People or Lok Sabha. Similarly, for Vice President, it is that he should be eligible to get elected to the House of to the Rajya Sabha basically. For President, he should be eligible to get elected to the House of Lok Sabha, and for Vice President, he should be eligible to get elected to the House of Rajya Sabha. And he shall not hold any office of profit. He shall not hold any office of profit. Office of profit has not been defined in the Constitution. I have made a whole lecture on office of profit. Go and watch it. But one important exemption has been provided in the same act. It says that a person shall not be deemed to hold office of profit if he hold the position of a chief minister, a prime minister, union minister, a minister in any state legislative assembly, or the post of governor. That means these people will not be considered to be holding office of profit, and they can contest election for the seat of president. Okay. Conditions. Now I was talking about the eligibility for the office of president. Now we are talking about the conditions for the office of president, and they are very different, as eligibility applies to the person who has not yet been elected to the office of president, whereas conditions apply to the person who has been elected to the office of president. Okay, and that exemption was only for eligibility and not for the condition. That means a person holding an office of governor or any union minister or a minister in the state government can, without resigning from that post, contest elections for president. Okay, it is understood. But once he gets elected, once he gets elected to the office of president, he shall be bound by some conditions that are: he should not be a member of any house of the parliament or state legislature. He shall not hold the office of profit. In that condition also there is a clause that he shall not hold any office of profit. But this exemption does not apply when we discuss the conditions for the office of profit. That means he cannot be a governor and president at the same time. He cannot be prime minister and president at the same time. Okay. His emoluments which are mentioned under the second schedule, very important, would be decided by parliament. Okay. And his salary and emoluments will not be decreased during his term of office. These are the conditions of office of president. Now, process of election. The election to the office of president shall be held before the expiration of the term of the president incumbent. That means if there is already a president who is going to retire, okay, So the new president should be elected before the retirement of that existing president. Okay, this is the first condition. In case of death, resignation or impeachment, the election shall be held within 6 months. In case of death, resignation या impeachment, the election for the new president shall be held within 6 months from such an event. Okay, and the person who gets elected will be the new president, and he will hold office from the day he enters into office for 5 years. ओके ऐसा नहीं है कि जो प्रीवियस प्रेसिडेंट था उसका टर्म 3 इयर्स का हो चुका था, 2 साल का टर्म बचा था, तो जो नया प्रेसिडेंट आएगा वो 2 साल के लिए करेगा, नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. ही विल बी होल्डिंग द ऑफिस ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट फॉर द नेक्स्ट 5 इयर्स. ठीक है. नाउ प्रोसेस ऑफ इलेक्शन. The process of election is done by proportional representation by single transferable vote. Okay, now we'll try to understand. Constitution talks about two things. There should be parity. Parity means equivalence. Parity does not mean equality, it shows equivalence. Okay, so there should be parity between states like MP and UP. ठीक है, there should be parity between the states. Okay, first of all let's talk about who can vote. Who can vote in the presidential election? तो वोटिंग में सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है इलेक्टेड मेंबर्स ऑफ parliament. Elected members of parliament. Second, elected members of state legislative assemblies. Okay, the third important point is elected members of the legislatures of UT of Delhi, because UT of Delhi has a legislature, and UT of Pondicherry, because only these two UTs have a legislature. ठीक है. यहाँ पे very important point is elected members can only take part in the election of president. Nominated members cannot take part. The second important point is I have written here state legislative assemblies. ठीक है. Members of Rajya Sabha take part in the election. However, because I have written members of parliament and not the members of Lok Sabha, that means elected members of Rajya Sabha take part in process of election, election of president, but members of legislative councils of the state where there is bicameral legislature do not take place in the election of president. That means members of state legislative council do not take part in what? The election of the president. तो यहाँ पे दो important point थे. Nominated member do not take part in the election of president, and the second one is the members of state legislative council, whether elected or nominated, they do not take part in the election of the president. I hope you understood this. The second important point is proportional representation by single transferable vote. Proportional representation by single transferable vote. यहाँ पे एक important point है, Constitution talks about is there shall be a uniformity in representation of different states. There shall be a uniformity between representation of different states. ठीक है, UP, MP, Bihar. Okay, different states shall be uniformly represented. ठीक है. तो if we say uniform representation, that means एक तो states के between representation होना चाहिए यूनिफॉर्म, और दूसरा इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है कि हर स्टेट के, ठीक है, हर स्टेट के एक एमपी और एमएलए के वोट की वैल्यू भी सेम होनी चाहिए. हर स्टेट के एमपी और एमएलए की वैल्यू भी, वोट की वैल्यू भी सेम होनी चाहिए. ठीक है. that you can, like, it is not very important to calculate the value of the votes, okay, but election takes place through proportional representation. Proportional representation. Proportional representation means all the people, election is conducted by election commission, सबसे important. Election to office of president is conducted by election commission. Now, for example, there are four candidates. There are four candidates A, B, C and D. ठीक है, तो एक बैलेट पेपर प्रोवाइड किया जाता है सबको, जितने भी लोग वोट करने के लिए आते हैं प्रेसिडेंशियल इलेक्शन में, एंड दे आर आस्क्ड टू मार्क देयर प्रेफरेंसेस. ठीक है, तो प्रेफरेंसेस में every person will have to mark their first preference. For example, someone marks preference A as 1, someone and B as 2, C as 3 and D as 4. Another person marks the same preferences as A, B, C, D. ठीक है, marks B as first preference, A as fourth preference, C as second preference and D as third preference. ऐसे ही बहुत सारे लोग अपना वोट डाल के जाएंगे. Now, if in case there are, for example, there are 15,000 votes. ठीक है, if there are total 15,000 votes, ठीक है, there are not 15,000 people to vote, but the value of votes is such that there are total 15,000 votes. Now, if A got 5,000 votes, ठीक है, B got 4,000 votes, C got 3,000 votes, and D got 2,000 votes. For example, this got 6,000 votes. 6 4 10 3 13 2 15. ठीक है, he got 6,000 vote, this guy got 4,000 vote, this guy got 3,000 vote and this guy got 2,000 vote. तो in that case, अब 15,000 का half क्या होगा? 7,500 votes. This is the quota that is being set to become the vice president, to become the president. Total number of votes कितना है? 15,000. 15,000 का half कितना हो गया, या 50% कितना होगा? 7,500. If the vote was not done using proportional representation, but first past the post, the usual that takes place in the voting in Lok Sabha, first past the post means जिसका सबसे highest vote आया, that will be declared winner. So in that case, A will be declared the winner. But in proportional representation, that is not the case. You have to achieve 7,500 votes to become the winner, despite the fact that you are highest grosser. उस केस में क्या होगा? You will eliminate this person who is having the least number of votes. ठीक है, तो in that case, anyone who has marked anyone A, B, C, D, ठीक है, तो anyone who has marked D as first preference, ठीक है, तो that ballot will be cancelled. That means this guy is rejected. And now, for example, this guy marked B as second preference, A as third preference and C as fourth preference. तो जो second preference पे है, that will be added to B. ठीक है, अब B के में एक वोट ऐड हो जाएगा. ठीक है, अगर ऐसे ही किसी और बंदे ने D को फर्स्ट मार्क किया था लेकिन A को सेकंड मार्क किया था, तो A के वोट में एक और ऐड हो जाएगा. और ऐसे ही जितने भी 2,000 बैलेट्स थे जिन्होंने D को फर्स्ट मार्क किया था, वो बैलेट्स कैंसिल हो जाएंगे और उनकी जो सेकंड प्रेफरेंसेस हैं वो अलॉट हो जाएंगी एज अ फर्स्ट प्रेफरेंस in calculation of the votes for A, B and C. And this process will continue till one person wins. This is called proportional representation by single transferable vote. I hope you understood this. So this is all about the process of election to the office of president. And another important topic is कि any dispute that arises out of the election process of president shall be looked upon by Supreme Court of India. The Supreme Court of India has original jurisdiction, original and exclusive jurisdiction with respect to the election to the office of president. Okay, and the election is conducted by Election Commission of India. These are two important other points. I hope you understood this. This was very interesting. If you have any doubts, if you have any issues, kindly reach me out in the comment section.